Tonight, debt ceiling deadline with a government shutdown at stake and the president's multi-trillion-dollar domestic agenda now in jeopardy.
We're obviously at a precarious and important time.
Democrats debate whether to pass a trillion-dollar compromise or gamble for trillions more in spending.
We're not proceeding with anything that doesn't have agreement between the House and the Senate.
Plus, House Democrats push to expand access to abortions and stopping progress.
This is where a section of the wall was going to be.
What happened after President Biden pulled the plug on Trump's border wall? All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
Crisis averted, at least for now. Good evening, I'm Jenna Browder.
Welcome to Faith Nation, I'm John Jessup. Tonight, the Senate has voted to keep the federal government up and running. The House expected to do the same.
Another pressing issue drawing battle lines among Democrats on Capitol Hill, infrastructure and two separate bills. The first, the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill, and the second, the $3.5 trillion human infrastructure or reconciliation bill.
On the first, House Democratic leadership projecting optimism they'll be able to pass the $1.2 trillion bipartisan bill, a measure that already made its way through the Senate. Progressive Democrats, though, say not so fast. They're warning they won't support it without first passing that larger $3.5 trillion human infrastructure bill. If Speaker Pelosi can unite her caucus to rally around the smaller package, the bill then goes to the president's desk for his signature.
But concerning the larger infrastructure bill, the $3.5 trillion, it's still very unclear how it will fare over in the Senate side. Today, West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, who's more of a moderate, set a limit on the price tag.
My top line has been 1.5 because I believe in my heart that what we can do and what the needs we have right now and what we can afford to do without basically changing our whole society to an entitlement mentality.
What do you say to people
Hold on.
You and Senator Sinema are holding this whole thing up?
I'm not holding it. You know, we only have 50 votes. Basically take whatever we aren't able to come to agreement with today and take that on the campaign trail next year, and I'm sure that they'll get many more liberal, progressive Democrats with what they say they want.
And tonight, it's less clear what Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema, the other moderate Democrat opposed to the human infrastructure bill, wants to see in it. Today, her office released a statement refuting claims she's been elusive in this process, saying both the president and the Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, both are, quote, fully aware of Sinema's priorities and that she continues to engage directly with them in private discussions.
Still, something that we have not mentioned, there's also the debt ceiling. Lawmakers have until October 18th to raise the nation's allowable debt limit before the country runs out of funding to pay for its bills.
Yeah, a lot going on Capitol Hill. And joining us now is Mark Hamrick, Senior Economic Analyst and Washington Bureau Chief at Bankrate. Mark, welcome. A lot to get to tonight. There's a lot up on the Hill. It looks like we're going to stave off a government shutdown. Short-term spending now extended to December. But, Mark, is this just a case of kicking the can down the road?
You literally took the words out of my mouth. That feels like, the sport in the nation's capital for so many years now. And it's so unnecessary because, I think Americans deserve better government. And that's not a political statement. That's a broad statement, meaning that these are decisions which should have been made a long time ago and should have been clarified. And so I would say that voters, constituents, business leaders, investors, consumers, they all deserve more certainty in our government. And so, yes, the government looks like will stay open at least through early December. Why we needed to have another short-term spending bill and just couldn't take it on to the end of the next fiscal year is another question. And as you say, there are a lot of other looming issues which have yet to be resolved.
Mark, the short-term spending bill is no longer tethered to the nation's debt limit. That debt limit set to hit a hard ceiling in mid-October. Mark, what happens if lawmakers fail to raise that cap by October 18th? Could the United States be in real danger of defaulting on its debt?
Well, that is the outcome that happens if we neither suspend or raise that debt ceiling. And we remind people that this isn't a commitment to spend money. That commitment has already been made. This is essentially just allowing the government to pay for what it's already committed to. It's essentially making good on a promise. And so we're talking about payments to veterans, members of the military, Social Security payments, and all the entities, all the businesses that are reliant on the federal government as a customer. So there would be truly devastating consequences if we defaulted and basically took away the mantle of the full faith and credit being respectable of the federal government. And we can't afford that. We still are dealing with a debt downgrade that happened a decade ago that has raised the cost of borrowing because we played this game once. We should not play it again.
Yeah, stunning to think about for sure. Mark, what about the bipartisan infrastructure plan? Are we seeing the same song and dance that we have with government spending and the debt ceiling?
Well, I think here what you're trying to do is find middle ground. And so when we looked at the Senate stopgap measure that was approved by a measure of 65 to 35, that's about as close to bipartisan as you get in Washington, D.C. these days. And so I think that if we do have something that is, quote unquote, moderate emerge from all of this, it's not what, the most ardent progressives want, and it's more than what those who want nothing want. I think that probably would be obviously better than nothing.
All right, Bankrate's Mark Hamrick, thank you so much for being with us and always appreciate your insights.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Well, elsewhere on Capitol Hill, Democratic lawmakers are pushing to protect and expand abortion access across America. In a House hearing today, 3 congresswomen advocated for the procedure by sharing their personal stories and warning about court cases that could limit abortion.
Because of the cruel Texas abortion ban and the other state abortion bans currently being litigated by those unaffected